I am so excited to be here with Niyc today, especially because we are going to be talking about the importance of having a positive relationship with your body and looking after your hormones whilst going through the journey of leveling up a business and being a success in your career. So, hello, Niyc. So lovely to have you here. Welcome.
Hello. So good to be here. So excited to have this conversation.
Amazing. And Niyc is actually she's very sunny. We're actually here on camera today and I can see all the sun behind her. So yeah, she's come with a beautiful smile as well, as always. So I'm so excited to get started. So before we crack on and we get into my questions, because I've got quite a few, I will warn you. I'd love to know from you, Niyc, before we get stuck in, vital question. Do you believe that looking after your hormonal health is vital to be a success in your career and to have a great quality of life?
Absolutely. Like, I know for certain that without health, you don't have anything. If you don't have your health, then you can't have a successful business. So everything has to start from there. And I'm really excited to have this conversation. I feel like it's very timely because more people are waking up to this idea and this concept of really educating themselves and implementing these tools and things to make themselves feel better more of the time. And I've actually had so many friends ask me about this literally in the last couple of weeks. They're like, Niyc, what are you doing for this thing? Or can you tell me what you're doing for that thing? So I'm super excited to share with you here.
Yeah, this is amazing. So, okay, I'm loving that excitement. Now, can I take you back to 2019? Yeah, okay, to when it wasn't so great and what life was like for you back in 2019. Can you paint the picture for me?
Like, when I say that I know how important health is to your success, one of the reasons that I know that is because I went through a really scary time where I didn't have my health. And back in 2019, it felt like it was brewing for a while, but because I'd been such a healthy person for so many years and I was so committed to my workouts and I would always eat healthy, I never really thought that it would happen to me. So whilst I was starting to feel more tired, more exhausted, it was harder to get through the day, I was trying to put a Band-Aid on the bullet hole and I was really just trying to get through with what I knew. And it was only when I started to, it was honestly, when I think back to these moments, it was terrifying. I would fall asleep at anywhere from midnight to 2 a.m. in the morning. But then I would wake up kind of 2, 3, 4 hours later, wide awake. And I would literally sit in bed crying my eyes out because I was so exhausted. I wasn't getting a good sleep. And I knew that I had to be up the next day for work. And I don't share this lightly. I do a lot of work with suicide awareness. And at that time, I remember literally waking up and thinking, I don't want to be here and I can't do this anymore. So it was having those thoughts and feelings that I was like, holy fuck, Niyc, you've got to do something about this. You've got to do something extreme about this now, because otherwise, you're not going to be here. So it was the sleep that actually made me go to the doctor and ask for a solution. So I went to my doctor and I said, listen, I'm not sleeping. And she said to me, she was like, you must be absolutely exhausted. And I literally burst into tears. And she was like, you've been doing so much and you've been holding so much responsibility and you haven't been feeling good. I don't know how you're getting through. And I literally broke down and I was like, I can't go on like this anymore. So that was the start of healing. I'm not going to say it was the start of feeling better immediately because it was a long journey, but that was what really took me to the point of asking for help.
Okay. And, at that point, you were doing something that, not everyone's doing. Your friends might not have been doing it. They might have had a conventional career and so forth. So in 2019, where was your business at that point?
I mean, it's interesting you ask that because if I look back at the way that I was running the business and what had been going on in my life at the time, there was a lot of layers that were impacting the way that I was feeling. So I made my first million before I was 30 back in 2017. So had a super successful and very, should we say, energetic business, which commands a lot of you, showing up and doing launches, running a team. And at the start of 2019, I had 21 people in my team that I was managing. As well as that, in 2018, I had taken more than 100 flights around the world. So I was speaking on so many different stages, like loving my life, living my dreams, but feeling like shit all the way through it too. So I was literally like just jet lagged all of the time. And I was just getting used to that feeling. I was like, this is what it means to have this lifestyle where I travel the world and I'm in demand all the time. I'm just going to have to feel shit as well. So it was almost like I just got on with it. And then when it got to the start of 2019, I had started to realize that I was at capacity. I'd started to realize that something did have to change. So I looked at my business model and I actually decided to streamline some of our programs. So, and when I say streamline, I mean aggressively cancel. So I literally cancelled like my membership. I cancelled a 12-week coaching program that I had, and I doubled down on what I did really, really well. So I just got laser focused. I made a commitment to do less, but do it better at the start of 2019. And I think had I not made that decision, I wouldn't have been able to keep the business running when it came to the middle of the year and I encountered all of these health challenges. Because one of the greatest like gratitudes I have for that period of time is that I did take extreme action. And also I had a business that was systemized enough so that it still kept running even when I wasn't working in it. So from June, July, August 2019, I actually stopped working. And I did no sales, no marketing, no nothing. The team ran the whole company. And I showed up for, I like reduced my hours on calls, and I showed up for something like 2 hours of calls a week. And that was it. I did nothing else. And I was literally in bed until whenever I felt like I could drag myself out of bed, I'd get up. I wasn't allowed to exercise. I was literally, it was extreme. And then I went back to bed in the afternoon. And at that time, I was terrified because I was scared of what people would think of me. I was like, I'm the person that has a brand called Unstoppable. Come on. I have a brand called Unstoppable. I've got 10 years as a personal trainer. I am a high performance coach. I am literally so committed. It's a non-negotiable for me to work out, to eat healthy. And I'm really into biohacking. I'm doing all of the things right. How can it have gone so wrong?
Yeah, this is amazing. But there must have been a huge fear piece about actually making that productive decision to take a step back. And that's something I absolutely want to come to and really delve into, because that's the roadblock for so many people. You know, perhaps they've started to see success in their business or their career, and they feel that they have to put that input in to get the output out. And then there's that fear piece of like, how am I physically going to be a success? And I'm definitely guilty of being someone that works hard and not always smart. I know that firsthand. I've definitely learned my lessons there. But I'd love to definitely talk about fear a little bit later on. Can you pinpoint one moment that made you go, right, that's it, I'm done? Was there anything significant that happened that you were like, I've got to do something about it?
I'd say that was like with my sleep. Like that was my biggest moment where I just knew that it was bad. Like I knew that it was bad. And actually what I found out from the doctor, the sleep was a symptom of something else that was much kind of more intricate that was going on. And I'm just lucky that the body is so amazing at giving you these warning signs that it was doing something to say like, Nick, listen up, hello, over here, like you've got to do something about this now. Because if I hadn't have had that extreme impact on my sleep and being able to function, I probably would have just kept going along and putting the Band-Aid on and feeling the way that I was feeling. The good thing that I know now is that you can feel amazing every day. I got myself into a place where I was just accepting feeling like shit. And I was like, this is normal. Like, this is normal. I'm just like, as you get older, you feel worse. And it was just completely crazy. Like, now I literally feel amazing every day. And it's been a big journey. We're a couple of years down the line now. So it's not that it's easy. It was been expensive. It's been hard. It's been scary. It's been painful. And it's been the best thing that I've ever done.
Okay. So tell me about the symptoms, and then we'll come on to the diagnosis. So sleep had dropped off, fatigue, any sort of cold hands, limbs, hair falling out, skin problem. Was there anything like that?
Yeah, so really dry skin, hair falling out, cold hands, like feeling not just tired, but this kind of tired where it's like, oh God, the word that I'd use to describe it is horrific. Like, I used to say, oh God, I feel horrific.
Yeah.
And it's not just like a tiredness, it's a tiredness, but also feeling wired. So it's like you feel anxious and your body's on like overdrive and you want to sleep, but you can't sleep. It's awful. And then I had like really bad anxiety to the point that if the door slammed behind me or there was a loud car outside, I would literally like jump and I'd be like physically shaking. So I knew that my nervous system was like in overdrive as well. I'm trying to think what else, because there was so much at the time that was going on that just...
You were someone that really enjoyed your exercise. So, because this is a big piece, you know, and it becomes part of your blueprint. So did you notice any changes in your behaviors with food or exercise? Like what changed there?
So like I haven't always loved sport. I actually used to get bullied in PE at school back in the UK. So I had a really bad relationship with sports, team sports, sport at school, and I used to hate it. It was only when I was in probably 18 or 19 and my ex-boyfriend at the time was a professional cricket player. He got me into like really enjoying exercise and fitness, and his dad like taught me how to run half marathons. And the reason I say this is because I feel like when you look at people like online and you see someone doing the workout, you're like, there's a tendency to pass judgment and say, oh, well, it's all right for them because they find it easy. Like, I want people to know that I didn't always find it easy. I've just trained myself to find it easy. So I used to be the person that wanted to go for a run and wouldn't go for a run. And I would think about it all day. And I'd be like, I'm going to go. I've got to go. I've got to go. I've got to go. Okay, I'm not going to go. And I would do anything apart from going. So one of the things that helped me in that capacity was just having the mantra that doing something is better than doing nothing. And getting my trainers on and getting out of the door and saying, I'm going to run for 10 minutes and not committing to run for an hour and just going out and doing something. And that's a habit that has stood the test of time with me. And it's meant that I've become very, very disciplined with my workouts. So now I work out either every day or 6 days a week. And during the time when I was getting less and less well, I was still continuing to exercise, because for me, having a lifestyle where so much changes, so there's a lot of change in these type of coaching businesses. There's like things that are flying at you day after day. I'm on planes, I am launching things, I'm like meeting so many people. My exercise routine for me was my grounding. So it didn't matter where in the world I was. It was like, right, where's the gym? Or how can I work out in my house? Or how can I get outside for a run? So that provided a sense of consistency throughout my life. So it felt like when things were going wrong with my health, that was still my baseline, and that was still the thing that I could be consistent with, and it was going to help me. What I actually learned was that pushing myself so hard at the gym was actually having a negative impact. So when I went to see the doctor in mid-2019, one of the things that they said was, you are not allowed to go to spin class. You're not allowed to go and do your sprints at Barry's boot camp. You're not allowed to do your heavy weights workouts. You can go for a walk. And that's it, Nick.
Yeah. And after training yourself into a behavior where it becomes a non-negotiable and something you rely on to then go, you can't have that and you can't do that. Like, that's tough. That's absolutely tough. And at that point, Nick, had you, if you don't mind asking, had you lost your cycles?
I was toing and froing. So it's actually an interesting question because, again, it all makes sense when you look back. I came off the pill in 2018. So I know that also had an impact in terms of things shifting. I went through phases where I had no periods at all.
Yeah.
I went through phases where I had a period for 3 months. So it was literally all over the place. Thankfully now everything is super regular. So again, I feel like a lot of this information is shocking and it's like, oh my goodness, things were so bad. But I want everyone to know things can be so good again as well.
Yeah. And I just think this is a really good point in the chat today to point out that, you know, subject to whether you're on birth control or not, you know, we should be having frequent cycles, and it doesn't matter, you know, your body fat percentage. If you are stressed, mentally stressed, and you are not having a regular cycle, that does need to be investigated. You know, we need cycles. It's an incredibly important part of female physiology. And actually, ladies, you know, it equates to 15% of our energy output, just you know, having a reproductive system that regulates our cycles. So
did not know that.
As soon as you lose your cycle, you're burning 15% energy, less food. So, you know, actually we put a lot of negative energy on the cycles, but we should be having frequent cycles. I lost 3 years after competing, and being postmenopausal, and you know, I didn't know at the time, and it's putting some real emphasis on that. But okay, let's dial into your diagnosis. So you went to the doctor. Were you in the UK at this point?
I was here in LA.
Okay, cool. So you went to the doctors and you said, I'm broken and I need some help. I haven't got any sleep. What did you go through? What was the process from there?
So the immediate diagnosis, because I had bloods done. So first thing, if somebody comes to me and they're like, Nick, I know you went through this. I feel like I'm going through it. What do you recommend? I'm always like, go and get a full blood panel done. That's going to give you a snapshot of where you're at. So, and it's actually easier here in the States than I experienced it to be back home in England. And I don't know if things have changed since like the 5 years I've been here. But what it used to be like when I used to go to the doctors in England and ask for a blood panel, they used to say, well, which test do you want done? And we'll do that one.
Yeah.
Is it still the same?
Anyone that I work with, we always go and we fund privately through like MediCheck, because it is very much the same. And also, for instance, like we're going to talk about thyroid, but you know, your GP will run your TSH, which is just one variable of your thyroid function, when actually we need to see the whole picture of what your thyroid's doing. So sometimes it's worth spending £80 running, especially if you're a busy woman that runs a business, right? You haven't got time to be calling the GP, you know, many times chasing blood work. It's best to just buy it. And if anyone's actually listened to this and you need some advice of where to source the blood work from, please reach me. I can absolutely send links out. Okay, but yeah, it is still a little bit difficult, definitely. And it's pulling in, you know, I work closely with an endocrinologist as well, so we can make sure that we give everyone the right support that people need, because it becomes quite difficult to be able to like go and investigate in the UK. Anyway.
It's so complex, isn't it? It's like there's so much to it.
Yeah, so endocrinology is so complex. Like female physiology is so complex. Like, and this is, no one's talking about it. You know, no one is talking about it, and we need to address this. Otherwise, you know, from me, from a weight loss space, and from you, from leveling women up to act, you know, to be a success and enjoy their career, it's so important.
So important.
Yeah. So you went to the doctors. You obviously had a full MOT. That's what I like to call it. Some blood work ran, and what came of this?
So I found out that I had low thyroid function, so hypothyroidism. I had low or no progesterone, and I did a heavy metals test. I had heavy metals poisoning as well. And that was my coach, Brendan, that actually sent me for that test. So these things came back, as well as obviously the sleep, and my cortisol was off. So I had really high inflammation in my body. So despite working out all of the time and eating healthily, I was still like not feeling my best, and I was putting on weight. So all of these things kind of didn't make any sense until I got diagnosed with the heavy metals poisoning and the adrenal fatigue and the thyroid condition as well.
Okay, so let's delve into the thyroid diagnosis, because women are 5 to 8 times more likely to have a thyroid dysfunction in their lives, and 60% of women actually have a thyroid issue and don't know about it. So if you're listening to this, like 60% is huge. And one thing to point out about the thyroid, you know, this dictates your metabolic rate, and this will dictate, you know, how much energy your body utilizes. And what can happen is you can be doing the steps and running on the treadmill and eating your lettuce, and you're like, what? Nothing's happening.
Fuck less though, by the way. We eat proper meals.
Yeah. But honestly, it's the most frustrating thing. And then you see, you know, the Fitspo that just like says eat less and move more. And actually that is the most damaging bit of advice to take on board. So with the hypothyroid, you know, if you don't know about this, it can absolutely have such a massive effect on how you feel. And then obviously Nick said about weight gain. So interestingly, Nick, did you notice any specific area on your body where you gained the weight?
Like mainly on my stomach. So like around the middle.
Yeah. So that's really common for cortisol. Like, and you know, people obviously talk about like the, you know, the stress hormones and so forth, and they're healthy hormones, but the problem is when they remain active and don't go inactive. And that's obviously where you are at, where you're just at fight and flight all the time, and it's absolutely exhausting. Nick, did you run anything for cortisol? I don't know if you've heard of the Dutch test. It's quite popular.
Yeah, I did. I literally did everything. So someone's banging as well. Sorry, I can hear someone banging in like the recording. Yeah, so we did all of the like cortisol tests as well, and like literally everything. Vitamins, minerals, like cholesterols, everything like that. And I have genetically high cholesterol, which I think from my dad. So my dad had a triple heart bypass and a heart valve replacement because he had heart disease. So I think there's something hereditary there. But everything else, they were like, oh, you're healthy, like cholesterol's really, really good. So we can see that there's a lot going right here because of the way that you live. But there's also this like landslide of stuff that's going wrong. So they gave me an emergency plan at the start, which looking back, like it scares me so much. I don't know if you've seen Jordan Peterson's story about benzos. So benzodiazepine, like sleeping pills, anti-anxiety pills. When I got diagnosed with the adrenal fatigue and all of this stuff back in July 2019, I was put on a prescription medication called Klonopin, and I took that at the time to help me sleep. Now, when I say help me sleep, it literally knocked me out. But the doctor said, she was like, things are so bad, Nick, that you need this to help your body start to heal. What I didn't know is that is an incredibly addictive, damaging prescription medication. So if I had have known that at the time, I never would have taken it. So I took that for 3 months, and then I got shifted off that and got put onto more natural supplements for sleep once things had started to kind of work themselves out. But as well as that, I had chelation therapy for my heavy metals. So when they tested the metals, and this was like literally Brendan had helped Tony Robbins with this. So he's like, go and get a heavy metals test. I know that there's something else happening. It's not just your thyroid and it's not just adrenal fatigue. Go and get this thing done. And he wrote me like a huge protocol to follow. And I had these, I was already on IVs every 3 days. So I'd go in, have a vitamin IV, go back home, go to sleep. And then the doctor started to integrate a chelation therapy once a week, which was an IV that puts like binders into your body, and the binders bind with the metals and they pull them out of your organs, and then you can pee them out. But that has so many side effects that you then have to have another IV afterwards to kind of counteract the first IV. So it was like this whole thing. It was like you start one thing, and because you do that, you've got to do this. So it was a real process. And I remember saying to Brendan, because I was like sat in like on mastermind with him, in his office, and I like burst into tears, and I was like, I like feel so bad. And like he teared up and he was like, Nick, why didn't you tell me sooner? Like, I can help you. So him and I made like a commitment for 30 days to do this protocol that he'd created for me, and that really, really helped. And it was a lot. It was like 28 different supplements a day, as well as the stuff that the doctor had given me. And that really gave me like it gave me a lot of hope, first of all, to have a plan, to be working with someone that knew their stuff. I'm sure your clients say this to you all the time. Like, it gave me a lot of peace, confidence, and hope that I was going to feel better again. And then after those 30 days, I did start to see a shift. I didn't feel 100% amazing again. And when people told me like, Nick, it's probably going to be a year before you feel good again, I was like, I can't wait a year. But actually, when I look back and I look at how long it did take me, it was probably about that long in total.
Yeah, and also if you think, you know, you had hormonal imbalances going on, so how are you possibly supposed to put your resourceful hat on and be able to find all these solutions, you know? And having that support there is so valuable. It really is. And you know, one thing I've absolutely learned is self-study is always key, but there is always so much more science out there for us to be able to go and find different answers. 100%. I think, you know, if you're in a situation where you potentially feel you might be struggling from like a stress response, you know, this could be down to overtraining. This is definitely a stimulant that can cause huge problems. Under eating, malnourishment. So if you're yo-yoing through dieting and you're under fueling, lack of sleep, absolutely 100%. But these are like telltale signs that can cause havoc on your body 100%. And when you're trying to, you know, go through a journey, potentially if you're working towards weight loss, you know, you may think that under fueling is the recipe to success, but actually it's totally not. And you know, the types of foods and things like that you need to eat to regulate your hormonal function, like there's tender loving care that goes into that. And, you know, just set dieting industry molds is not always the right fit for us as individuals. So do you feel when you were going through this chapter, you know, decision fatigue is absolutely a thing. For me, you know, for successful women, you're having to make so many decisions all the time. You're also having to make decisions when you're in your luteal phase and your follicular phase, and the decision is probably different depending on what phase you're in. But when you look back at when things were tough, you know, do you feel it did really dictate your decisions? Do you feel you suffer with decision making?
Yes, in general. So like everyone laughs at me because I always wear the same clothes. Like they call it a Niyc Pidgeon uniform. Like if you see inside my closet, I have literally like rows and rows and rows of like dozens of black bodysuits and then shelves full of jeans. And I just pick one and shove it on. You're getting the special treatment today because I'm wearing pink. So usually I'm like, I don't want to think about what I wear because it's too much of a decision. So, and I eat the same, I have celery juice as soon as I wake up. I'll go to the gym. I'll get back, have a vegan protein shake, have my breakfast. Everything's the same. And what I remember during the time when I was going through my healing, there was so much other stuff that was changing that I had to be mindful of, that the easier I could make my life, the better. Because I was having to track things like, okay, before you come on your period, are your boobs sore? Or do you feel angry? Or do you want to eat more? And for me, it was like, I've never suffered with cramps, thankfully. I've always had like back pain. So I'd have like a sore, like pain in my back. I have really, really tender breasts, like to the point where it was for like 7 days before, which isn't normal. So all of this stuff I was having to track and feed back to the doctor. And what it did do, whilst it was scary and it was painful, it did allow me to raise my awareness and learn a lot more about myself and about like the female system. I'd never really had, like, whilst I say that I had periods that had come and gone, I'd never really been an angry person or like been a nightmare when I had a period or anything like that. They'd always kind of been like worked with me and felt like quite like easy to manage. So I've never experienced any of those like really bad side effects that a lot of women get. So this was an opportunity for me to really connect even more with like who I am as a woman, and connect more with my cycle, and start to understand and track more things, and notice those tiny little nuances that can have a big impact. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned. Like, it can be one tiny thing that is off, and then it has this like cascade effect of everything else going to shit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, clients often say to me is, this should be in the school curriculum. We should understand how our bodies really do work and how to protect ourselves. And this definitely takes me on to this piece of, like, Nick, you had to let go of the reins of your baby, and I'm assuming you probably do see it as your baby, that you've grown from the ground up. And you are, I always say, you're a sandwich board for your business. You are when it's your baby. And that's surely that was hard. Like, talk to me about that, because I know there's going to be people listening to this that want to address their health concerns and want to believe that they can feel really good, like you've said, but they're just so damn scared to do it.
The biggest thing that I've learned is that you've got to feel good now. Like, you have to make it a non-negotiable and a priority to feel good first. And then from that place and space, your business will flow. If I look at what I'm doing in my business now, my energetic capacity is so much bigger because I feel great all of the time. The way that I used to feel was scared and anxious, and I felt like I was dragging myself through the day. And even on the days where I was like, right, okay, I'm back to work, I'm feeling okay again, I would go on a couple of calls and I'd be like, oh God, I feel horrific again. I need to lie down. Like, I do not feel good. What can I take? What can I use to make me feel better? Like, can I have like a green tea because I don't like coffee? It was literally that. Like, I'm like, give me anything to feel good, and I just wouldn't feel good. So you have to focus on doing what you can right now in order to feel good first, because if you wait for it to get to the extreme situation, it's going to be too late. For me, I was in a very fortunate position where the business could sustain itself with the team and the systems that we have. And I look back on those 2 years and it brought me a lot of shame. It brought me a lot of shame because I felt embarrassed that I hadn't gone fast enough. I kind of plateaued at like a 7-figure level. And it's only since I got really well again that I've been able to massively accelerate and go way beyond what we'd done before, like literally like 5 to 10x in our business. So if I had felt well all the way through, like, what might have been possible then? And at the same time, whilst it made me feel embarrassed and ashamed at the time, I'm always doing my work, like my subconscious work and my psychology work and my energetic work. So I don't regret any of the experiences that I've had, because now I have so much of an understanding about how I want to live out the next 100 years of my life.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And, you do such amazing things because you lead people from the front, and that's incredibly powerful, and it comes with a responsibility at the same time, doesn't it? But when you were going through this journey and you hit this wall, obviously you did have support in place, but was there ever any times when you did feel quite lonely? Because there's lots of women out there that are creating businesses and doing really well, but sometimes it can feel quite lonely. It can, perhaps, especially if your parents have had conventional careers and they don't quite understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Was it lonely?
It felt very lonely, and it also felt scary. And I'll give you some specific examples. So my boyfriend at the time, like, shouted at me once. He was like, "You're fucking miserable." He was like, I'm sick of this. Like, you're not healthy. You're miserable. You've got to do something about it. And that's like, sounds so mean. And it felt awful at the time because I was doing everything that I could. And from his perspective, he was like, where has my girlfriend gone? Like, she's literally vanished in front of my eyes. I also felt very guilty when I would make commitments with friends and I would have to cancel them, or I would go to the dinner, or I would go to the friend's house and I would literally be sitting there, and then I would just feel so bad that I would have to leave. And I'd drive home and I'd cry because I was like, I'm such a bad friend. So it was those type of things where it's almost like your own self-expectation and how much pressure you put on yourself to perform, that I felt like I couldn't do the things that felt like would normally be an integrity for me to do. Like I'm a person that shows up and I couldn't do that. So I think that internal battle was really tough because there was no one around that was experiencing the same thing that I could reach out and talk to and say, listen, like this is going on and this is how I'm feeling. Since then, I've like shared with my friends that I felt like that, and they were like, oh my goodness, Nick, like one thing that I will say is that my friends never judged me. Like I never had a friend who was like, oh, just stay. Like, what do you mean you're going home early? All my friends are amazing and they're very non-judgmental people. So that brought me a lot of peace and confidence. I feel like with my team and my clients, it was a tough one because I'm the leader of this business. And I mean, right now we've got 4,500 people in programs. Like they don't want to see someone who's like, oh, I can't show up, I don't feel good. So I was in this dance between being honest and saying to the ladies in my mastermind, for example, in 2019, like I've had this diagnosis and I'm going to move this call by 2 hours and I'm not going to be marketing and selling, and I'm fully going to be present for you. And I'm going to give you an amazing service and amazing support when I'm here with you. And I didn't really tell them the extent of how bad I was feeling because I didn't want them to then feel unconfident or unsupported in their businesses too. So I think I managed it very well at the time. And it took a lot of my own internal resources and resilience to be able to get through that. So it's an invitation really for all of us to always be doing the work, because you never know what's going to happen in life. And the subconscious tools or the positive psychology tools that you have are the things that you have in your toolkit that you can literally pull out at any time, whether you're feeling great and you want to feel even better, or whether you are having a really tough day and you want something to be able to help support yourself.
Yeah, and that's a really great point, actually, because sometimes we can find that something tragic can happen in life out of our control, and actually as a byproduct, you can have chronic fatigue and things like that, you know, just from a really like troublesome time that can happen. So having that resilience there is just so immensely powerful. I think I did really want to ask you about, especially you're working with women day in, day out. I am in a different context, and commonly for me, when I'm connecting and supporting women that are incredibly career driven, they're always all or nothing people. You know, they're all in or they're all out. And is this something you commonly see with your clients? Would you say like an all in, all out mentality?
Well, we really teach that you have to feel good first. It's a premise of positive psychology. It's a premise of metaphysics. It's also a premise of high performance. So I'm like hard on my clients. Like I get them to commit to days off rather than days on.
Yeah.
Like I am always, even for these next 12 weeks, like I shared with the girls in the programs, that my mantra for the next quarter is how good can I feel and how easy can it be? So I'm always like, I'm in this dance of like the other day I wanted to cancel my massage, and some people might think, oh, well, Nick having a massage is a luxury. For me, it's actually not a luxury anymore, because running like a multi-7-figure business that has, I now have 28 staff. So I streamlined in 2019, rehired, restructured, did it way better this time. So having these 4,500 clients, a business that kicks ass and an amazing team requires me to show up at my best to be able to make sure everybody else can be unstoppable in their roles and within their businesses too. So I'm always like, right, shall I cancel the massage because I'm so busy? Or is the massage going to help me feel better, which is going to help me show up better and do more and have a higher energetic capacity within the company? So now I'm looking at, okay, like I literally have my sauna over there and I have my infrared mat over there. I have so many like biohacks going on. And I'm always just looking at what you can do to integrate these little shifts into your life. And the way that I teach is like, I teach what I do. I'm really open to tell you exactly what I do and share that with you because it can help so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so if you, well, I guess you kind of answered my question there, but if you did, connect with someone that was an all or nothing person and they were stuck on that roundabout and they perhaps are feeling some of the symptoms that you were, like, what would your advice be to that person, like today, if they were listening right now?
So first of all, I mean, knowledge and awareness is power. So I'd say if you're feeling something, go and find out first. Don't just wonder and don't just try and like fix it yourself. Go and get a blood panel done and then work with an expert to figure out what those numbers mean for you. I'd also say to give yourself some grace. In business and in life in general, there's like these two energies that come through. There's the push and there's the allow. So there's the masculine drive and do and force and like that real kind of forward motion, the organization, the planning. And then there's the feminine nurturing, allowing, receiving. And we all get to use both. So I feel like what is beneficial is to really honor the power of allowing, the power of spaciousness, the power of going on a walk to allow yourself to feel more creative and inspired rather than sitting at your laptop for another 20 minutes, forcing yourself to do something. So I'd say just lean into like the softness, like lean into it being okay not to do or push 100% all of the time, and to understand that often you can create more by doing less. And it's finding what is the best way for you, for your personality type. Like I know, for example, with not just my physical health, but with my human design profile, I'm a projector. So I can't push for long periods of time. I can do short sprints. I need to lay down horizontally to recover. And I'm actually better when people invite me to do things that feel like a full yes than me going out and finding it. So when you start to understand, right, who am I? What is my personality type? How does my body work? What is that snapshot, that profile? You can build up this like bigger, more like thorough understanding of yourself. And from that place, you get to decide how you build your business.
Yeah, love that. What answer? Cool. I wish I could do a drum roll at the end. Fantastic. Okay, so in regards to obviously your hormones, I'd love to know from you. Now we are balancing these babies well, so I'd love to know what are the 3 best benefits you've had since regulating your hormonal function and having everything balanced?
Definitely better sleep. So when I found out about my thyroid, I got put onto a T3 supplement. And also a progesterone supplement as well. So I had like a progesterone bioidentical hormone that I rubbed onto my arms every night, which helped me to sleep. Then that kind of got better over time. So I've been on that for almost 2 years now. And I was retesting regularly with the full blood panel and things were getting better, but they weren't quite there. So I was continuing on with this process. I now actually also take testosterone. So I inject testosterone into my ass every week because like that was one thing that then went through the floor. And I've noticed the benefits of that are that I have way more energy and things have just started to shift with the results that I get in the gym. The way that the doctor that I work with now, who's a sports performance doctor, the way he described it, he said, your thyroid is like the driving force of your car and your testosterone is your horsepower. So I was kind of humming along with my thyroid. It still wasn't right where we wanted it to be. I was like in a low, dodgy gear. And then the testosterone wasn't there. So I didn't have the oomph. So now I've only been on that for 6 weeks or something. So it's still getting there. Yeah. But the benefits have definitely been through sleep, vitality, energy, just overall quality of life. Because when you feel better, it's like, oh, now I have more good ideas. Now I feel like I can manage things and I don't feel like the world is going to crumble around me.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I think that's a really great point there, actually. You know, Niyc's frequently ran bloods, frequently. You know, she's been on it. She's been MOTing herself on it, you know, all the time. And sometimes that is what it takes. You know, you need to see an inside view instead of guessing or self-diagnosing over Google. Like, you know, blood work is just one of the most powerful tools for us to be able to understand really what's going on inside your body. And Niyc, this is a great question here. Investment wise, obviously you are in the States, so it's, you know, it's different for people in the UK, but sometimes there's a reluctancy to invest into health, and maybe sometimes, especially weight loss, because there's a fear that it won't work, or you know, that you perhaps you won't show up, and you won't gain a success, and you won't feel better. And there is definitely, you know, a fear piece about that investment there. But obviously you've invested a lot into this.
I knew you were going to ask this question, and I'm so excited to answer it, because like, if you're not investing in your health, then you're just throwing the rest of your money down the drain. You're throwing the rest of your like investment into your business, investment into yourself, your time investment, you're literally throwing it down the drain. So if I look at all of the hard work that I put in, flying around the world and like going to do these speaking gigs, all of that hard work actually was going down the drain because I wasn't looking after my health properly at the same time. So that cost me 2 years of business. So actually it cost me millions of dollars. Millions of dollars in lost revenues. It cost me probably thousands of people that I could have impacted more powerfully with signing new clients during that time where I wasn't able to work. So it makes a massive difference. So as well as the money that you're paying to invest in the tests or the coach or whatever, think about actually what does that quantify to over time. So it's cost me a lot of money now to fix my health and to feel really good. And I'm talking like over 50 grand in the past couple of years to have labs ran, to go on these IVs, to book appointments with doctors, to have the hormone replacements, all of the things. And that 50 grand is literally some of the best money I have ever spent, because I know I will never, ever, ever put myself in that situation again. And I know now I'm armed with the knowledge and the tools to be able to feel better more of the time. So let's say I make an extra $5 million this year. I might make an extra $10 million next year and an extra $20 million next year. So the compounding effect of the decision that you make right now to invest in yourself and your health will pay off literally 100-fold over time.
Yeah, and allow you to actually enjoy every moment of your successes, because those 2 years of getting on planes, you know, there were big speaking gigs, I'm sure, moments that were completely and utterly so important and special to you, but there just wasn't the energy space to be like, wow, this is happening, you know, and I feel really thrilled and excited about that. Absolutely, 100%. So I'd love to know, just digging for a bit of inside scoop here as I've got you here, but what does life look like for Niyc over the next 12 months in the business? What's life looking like for you? Is there anything exciting going on?
So many exciting things. So I'm actually launching my podcast. So yeah, so that's been a long time coming. So I'm super excited about that. We have also got a positive psychology coach certification that we are launching. So that's bringing together like the coaching side of things and the positive psychology side of things. And we've got 2 documentaries coming out this year. So there's like loads of fun stuff going on. And this has only been possible because now I feel great. So I've been able to go full force into these amazing creative projects.
Wow, you have been busy, girl. I love that. But still making time for training and working out, and I love that too. Non-negotiable.
Yeah, exactly.
Niyc, thank you so much for being so open about everything that went on with your hormonal health. Like, this is just such valuable stuff. And I think, you know, if you tuned into this session and you've related to some of the symptoms, or you felt the fear piece behind actually taking action and putting your health first, hopefully Niyc has just filled you with so much confidence to be able to do this and, you know, project yourself forward as a byproduct of that. So Niyc, where can my lovely listeners come and can find you? Because they're definitely going to want to check you out after this. So where can they find you?
So best place is actually Instagram. That's where I love hanging out and chatting with everyone the most. I know that's where we first met. So Instagram, my handle there is Niyc Pidge, and then my website is at nicpidgeon.com.
Super. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so much fun chatting to you. And actually, before we got on the session today, Nick was like, "Can I swear?" And I was like, he hasn't even sworn, I don't think.
I have many times.
Oh, okay, I didn't even know. Anyway, thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you so much.
Bye.